I'm gonna teach Dove how to say my name. Say Mommy,
Mommy,
Nikki,
Nikki,
Denja.
Denja.
Say it again. Say hey, Grandma.
No.
Say hey, Grandma.
Get my shit.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's gonna be 1200 Bevel Road. There's a fire at one of the apartments.
This man, Charles Ivy, Daytona Beach police say he fatally stabbed the mother of his children and then set her apartment on fire with 3 kids inside.
Yeah, the mother's 10-month-old died in the blaze. The other 2 kids are in the hospital, and we learned today that he's actually the father of those kids.
Ran to the building to try to get people out of there. So that's like the only thing I could think of doing to help out.
Defendant in this incident deserves a special place in the gates of hell for what he did to this mother and these children.
This is the story of Denja Moore, a young mother of 3 of Florida who was brutally murdered in her own apartment. Denja was found dead with over 100 stab wounds, and her apartment was set ablaze, trapping her 3 children inside and putting their lives in jeopardy. Her 10-month-old baby died hours later in hospital in what police are calling the most horrendous and horrific crime they have ever seen. She was covered in stab wounds when firefighters arrived around midnight on Tuesday at a home on Belleville Road in Daytona Beach. Our hearts go out to the family and friends of Denja Moore during this unimaginably difficult time. Denja was a loving mother whose life was taken far too soon.
I'm gonna teach Dove how to say my name. Say Mommy,
Mommy,
Nikki,
Nikki,
Denja,
Denja.
Denja,
Josh,
me,
Josh,
Denja.
Nanisha.
We extend our deepest condolences to all those affected by this devastating incident, and we hope that the pursuit of justice can bring some measure of peace and comfort to Nikki's loved ones as they navigate through their grief. This story takes us to Daytona Beach, Florida, an eclectic city on Florida's Atlantic coast, celebrated for its legendary Daytona International Speedway. Known as a magnet for auto racing fans, Daytona lets you experience the thrill of high-speed racing as cars whiz past, or if you're feeling adventurous, hop in a race car yourself for a pulse-pounding ride during select times of the year. Beyond racing, Daytona offers the iconic Main Street Pier with stunning ocean views, exhilarating dog racing, and world-class golfing. Visitors can also explore the Museum of Arts and Sciences, enjoy vibrant shopping and dining options, and revel in endless entertainment. And of course, there's Daytona's famous 23-mile-long beach, where you can experience the excitement of parasailing above beautiful turquoise waters, soaking in the sunshine and ocean breeze. Born on February 25, 1993, Denja Nikki Moore's full name reflected her identity. She grew up in a close-knit family in Orlando, Florida, where she was showered with love and attention, learning the importance of nurturing to achieve her goals. After graduating from Hanna City High School in 2012, Denja pursued a career in criminal justice at Bethune-Cookman University, working full-time at a Dollar Tree store and part-time as a football manager to fund her education. By 2016, she had settled into her studies and was actively seeking a partner. It was that year when Denja met a man named Charles Ivy, and the two quickly connected. He was 27 years old and she was 23, and they shared a lot of common interests and had fun together. Within a year, Denja was pregnant with her first child, Charles's 5th, and she couldn't have been happier. After giving birth to her son, Dakota, in April 2018, Denja was overjoyed, and Charles seemed to be the devoted father she had expected. By mid-2018, Denja was pregnant again, and in February 2019, she welcomed her beautiful daughter, Dove. Recognizing the need to support her growing family, Denja decided to turn her love of hair care into a more serious side hustle. Charles was supportive of her and the children, and Denja believed they were living the perfect life. However, this was about to change. By the way, we post true crime stories and strange cases. If this interests you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing this content. As Denja became increasingly busy with her job, hair business, and raising their children, she had less time to spend with Charles. He began to distance himself and became less involved with the kids. Denja's suspicions were aroused, and she discovered that Charles had started cheating. They discussed the issue and he denied it, but the pattern continued. Charles would cheat, then make efforts to fix the relationship only to repeat the cycle. Denja was heartbroken by his constant infidelity, which was taking valuable time away from her and their children. But despite the heartbreak, Denja was still very much in love with Charles and held on to the hope that he would one day change his cheating ways and return to the man she had fallen for. Sadly, the situation only worsened when the woman Charles was cheating with became pregnant. This was the ultimate betrayal for Denja, and she knew she could no longer continue in the relationship. In January 2020, Denja made the difficult decision to leave Charles and move away with her children, staying with her godmother for a while before getting her own apartment back in her hometown of Orlando in July. Charles was unable to accept the end of their relationship and constantly tried to reconcile, but Denja was resolute in her decision. She and her children deserved better. Heartbroken, Charles then took the drastic step of cutting off all contact with his children, refusing to take their calls, see them, or provide financial support. This was incredibly painful for Denja, who loved her kids dearly and would do anything for them. However, she was determined to ensure they were provided for, and she signed up for child support. Despite Denja's efforts to build a better life for her family, some in her circle criticized her for leaving her children's father, even as he refused to be a part of their lives. Denja refused to be silenced, stating, "People need to stop bringing my baby daddy up. That was a relationship I made the choice to leave to better myself and my children. I will never let someone else put me in a situation where I'm second place, where I don't have a voice, where I'm not happy. When I love hard, I open up my soul completely. That's my downfall, but it's okay. I'm growing into the woman God wants me to be and a great mother. I love me, and that's all that matters." Meanwhile, Charles, unhappy with being forced to financially support his children, filed for custody in March 2020, hoping to stop paying child support. Instead of full custody, he was granted joint custody, but this was not what he wanted. He continued to ignore his kids and Denja completely. Denja did her best to facilitate visitation, calling him to remind him of their children's events and milestones and even offering to drop the children off to make it easier for him to see them. After a few months, Charles agreed to have the children visit on weekends, but it became clear that he was not sincere about wanting to spend time with them and was only using the situation to hurt Denja. Charles's behavior took a dark turn when he began abusing the children during his visits, leading to his arrest on September 28, 2021. For child abuse that occurred on September 23, 2020, he was arrested after 1 year of this incident. Just days before the abuse incident, on September 14, 2020, Denja had reported to the court that Charles was failing to pay his court-ordered child support, which had accumulated to over $133,000. Following the abuse incident, Denja was granted full custody of their children, though Charles remained responsible for child support payments. This development enraged Charles, and while he began threatening and harassing Denja, she didn't take his threats seriously. She couldn't imagine that the man she once loved, who had once loved her, would actually harm her. Over the next 2 years, Charles would periodically contact Denja, asking her to release him from his child support obligations. Each time she refused, he would threaten her, but after 2 years of empty threats, Denja had grown dismissive of his words. However, everything changed when Charles learned that Denja had moved on with a new partner and had another child. His anger intensified, and he believed that since Denja had a new man in her life, that man should be responsible for his children's support. Meanwhile, Denja had been building a solid customer base in Daytona Beach, and she realized that her move to Orlando wasn't working well for her business. Her clients didn't want to travel to her, and the constant commuting was becoming too hectic. In June 2023, Denja decided to move back to Daytona Beach. She didn't inform Charles of this change since he was no longer involved in their lives, though unknowingly, this move placed her closer to Charles's Ormond Beach home than she had been in Orlando. Denja settled into her new home without any concerns about Charles, completely unaware that in just a few months, her world would come crashing down. On November 20, 2023, Charles told a female friend he was going to visit Denja to drop off money for their children after work. According to her, he left work at 10 p.m. that night and drove to Denja's house. Denja had no idea Charles had obtained her new address, and when she heard a knock around 11 p.m., she was startled to find him standing at her door. His unexpected appearance terrified her. After 2 years of threats without showing up at her home, his unannounced visit set off immediate alarm bells. She'd been expecting a friend that evening and was alone with her 3 sleeping children. Before Denja could close the door, Charles forced his way inside. Sensing imminent danger, she rushed to get her phone to call 911, but Charles pursued her, wrestled the phone away, and pocketed it. Denja, now realizing the gravity of her situation, screamed at him to leave. The confrontation turned physical as she fell backwards onto her living room floor. She kicked him forcefully as he tried to overpower her, causing him to lose balance and hit the side of her center table. As Denja attempted to escape, barely reaching her bedroom, Charles recovered quickly, his fury intensified. He grabbed her, violently slammed her to the floor, and pulled out a knife. What followed was unimaginable brutality as Charles began stabbing Denja repeatedly. Despite fighting with every ounce of strength she had, she gradually lost consciousness as he continued his merciless assault until she was unrecognizable. He then doused her and the floor with gasoline, set it ablaze, and proceeded to the kitchen where he turned on all the stove burners, placing boxes and paper on them. With chilling casualness, he walked to his car and sat watching for 30 minutes as flames engulfed the house, leaving only when he was satisfied no one could survive. As he drove away, hearing approaching fire trucks, he believed he had accomplished his goal, eliminating Denja, their children, and his child support obligations.
He was 10 months old. Didn't even get to make it to his first birthday because of this monster. They was intubated and they were supposed to be waking them up today. We don't know what they saw, we don't know what they heard, and they're gonna be screaming for their mother. We're gonna make sure they never forget their mother and know that she loved them.
But Charles was wrong about there being no survivors. When firefighters arrived and breached the apartment, they quickly found 2 small children burned but breathing and rushed them to the hospital. They then discovered a baby in a crib who was also immediately transported for medical care. Finally, they found Denja's body brutally stabbed, bloodied, and burned. Tragically, 10-month-old Messiah was pronounced dead at Halifax Health Medical Center from cardiac arrest. However, 4-year-old Dove and 5-year-old Dakota were transported to Shands Hospital's intensive care unit in critical condition.
This man, Charles Ivy, Daytona Beach police say he fatally stabbed the mother of his children and then set her apartment on fire with 3 kids inside.
Yeah, the mother's 10-month-old died in the blaze. The other 2 kids are in the hospital, and we learned today that he's actually the father of those kids.
The 2 surviving children have since recovered physically, thanks to the brave firefighters and the dedicated doctors and nurses who worked tirelessly to ensure they received the best care possible. With ongoing counseling and therapy, they are hopefully on the path to emotional and mental healing as well, supported by a loving and dedicated family. An autopsy report later revealed that Denja was stabbed over 100 times, with every vital organ punctured, resulting in her tragic death. Her 10-month-old son sadly passed away from smoke inhalation and second-degree burns, as he was in a crib near his mother's location, while her 4- and 5-year-old children suffered from smoke inhalation and first-degree burns, being farther from the initial fire. According to a report, fire officials said there were at least 2 fires happening simultaneously inside the apartment. One of the fires is believed to have started in the bedroom and the second in the kitchen. All 4 burners on the stove were reportedly turned on. Debris including burnt paper and a box were also found at the scene, the report revealed. Neighbors reported hearing shouting, but at first they didn't think it was serious enough to call the police. It wasn't until they noticed smoke and flames pouring out of the apartment that multiple residents dialed 911.
Address to your emergency.
The address is 1200 Bevel.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's going to be 1200 Bevel Road. There's a fire at one of the apartments.
Ran to the building to try to get people out of there. So that's like the only thing I could think of doing to help out.
Denja fought with all her strength to survive, even injuring Charles's foot in her struggle. However, she was no match for him, an ex-military man trained for combat. He overpowered her, pinning her down and delivering over 100 stab wounds. Charles, it seemed, wanted a new life without Denja or their children in it. He had started a new business just a month before, in October 2023, and then attempted to erase his past by murdering Denja and their young son, trying to take the lives of their other children as well. He did not anticipate getting caught, but fortunately he was. Arrested at his home in Norman Beach just hours later, the police identified him using Traffic Bureau surveillance footage that captured him leaving the area. He had been seen loading bags and suitcases into his car, preparing to flee. Charles is now being held without bond at the Volusia County Jail, awaiting trial.
The defendant in this incident deserves a special place in the gates of hell for what he did to this mother and these children.
One of his colleagues expressed shock upon learning what happened, saying, "Man, Charles, you're a retired military guy with 7 kids. Anyone who knew him saw him as a hard-working man." A friend shared heartfelt words on her profile, saying, I watched you help and push others to become better themselves. Sad all the way around. Prayers up for the family and kids. Denja was a driven and hardworking woman. Even while balancing a side gig, she kept her focus on her family and her goals. After her son, Messiah, was born on January 10, 2023, she remained busy managing her responsibilities, caring for her kids, giving them swimming lessons, and encouraging them to grow into positive and productive members of society. Tragically, though, the bitterness Charles harbored toward her turned deadly, underscoring the harsh truth that while a woman scorned may seek revenge, a man scorned can turn to violence. And in this case, that's exactly what Charles did. Denja's friends and family shared touching memories that reflect her impact on their lives. Her former college mate remembered their time together, saying, "My neighbor freshman year Curtis Hall, man, we had a time. We've taken long walks to the beach and even that long walk to vote for the first time ever. So sorry your life was taken, rest in peace." One family member reminisced about their last Thanksgiving together, recalling, "I remember when I clowned you last Thanksgiving, 'cause you were pregnant with Messiah and wasn't able to drink. Right now, we would have been on the phone talking about what you should bring for us to drink tomorrow. I'ma miss you so much, Nikki, man, you ain't deserve this, your heart was so pure, you was so sweet." Still trying to understand it all. "Somebody wake me up, I don't want to believe this." Denja's sister, processing her unimaginable loss, wrote, "Dear big sister, many say a soulmate can be anything and anyone even without romantic ties. You are my soulmate. A big piece of my heart is gone. I can't even grasp what life will be without you. The late night call, sitting on the phone for hours and not saying anything, just listening to one another's problems. You are the best mommy, an amazing woman, everything to me, your kids and mine. I can't do life without you. I don't want to do the rest of my life without you. I shouldn't have to. I never thought I would have to, not now, not ever. How am I supposed to do life without you? I know it sounds selfish, but I need you. Myself and Lex promise we will be there for Dove and Dakota. They will not fall, I promise. I love you and I love Messiah. You know how I feel about my dreams. Come see me soon, please." Denja was cherished by all who knew her, and her absence has left a deep void for her loved ones. Her two surviving children face a difficult journey of healing from their trauma and coming to terms with the loss of their mother. The family and community are rallying around them, committed to preserving Denja's legacy of love and resilience. Let's keep Denja and her family in our prayers. On what would be her final birthday, Denja shared a hopeful message, writing, "It's my birthday. Thank you, God, for letting me reach this wonderful year, the big 30. This is the year of nothing but success for me and mine." Tragically, her dreams were cut short, and she was denied the future she envisioned. May her beautiful soul rest in peace alongside her baby boy, Messiah, and may they both receive the justice they and their family so rightfully deserve. Consider this. What would you do if the father of your child or children demanded to be removed from child support and threatened you when you refused? Think carefully about it and please share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe and always remember, trust no one.